Thank you, everybody, and welcome to the Rocha Revolution. We are honored today to be joined by a badass California congressional candidate, my good sister, Esther Kim Varet. Esther, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Chuck. Always a pleasure to be with you.
We wanted to kick off 2026 in this way. And for those of you who've been avid listeners and subscribers to the Substack, the plan is we're going to start interviewing candidates from all around the country that I think are change makers, folks that are doing things a little bit differently, really making a difference. And in this race really sticks out to me, other than I've really become good friends with my dear sister Esther over the last few months, is this district. And I'm going to have her talk about the California 40th district, where it's at, why it's in play. But I want you to know that this is the kind of district we need to win if we're going to grow the margins and not have a 2-seat majority or a 3-seat majority. We're going to ride this blue wave and we're going to win districts like this one. That's a little more Republican than just a 50-50 district, but absolutely winnable. And Esther, thanks for being here. Tell the folks a little bit about you, then we'll talk about the district.
Yeah. So Esther Kim Varet, the last name it rhymes with carrot. That's the easiest way to remember it, Chuck.
Now I'm writing that
To your
down.
brain. Yeah. Um, again, I'm not a career politician. Like, I joke around. About a year ago, I Googled how to run for Congress because I mean, literally, like, I went knocking on doors for Kamala. I went to Detroit with a few of my girlfriends. I am an art dealer by trade. So, like, I own art galleries in a number of different locations: LA, Orange County, Dallas, and Seoul. I built those all myself. I represent artists. Anywhere from the age of 24 to 84, I work with individuals that really don't have a safety net, right? And I'm their breadwinner, I'm their therapist, I'm their financial planner, I am the person that they call when their toilet is broken. Like, literally, I am the mother of like 35 different people. And then I have 2 kids of my own, 8 and 11. So, and I have employees in their 20s and 30s. And I'm like, oh my gosh, every single category, every single section of American life and the people around me are heading into one form of trauma or another in not only the way that they have viewed their own comforts in life, affordability, um, being as if you are somebody that balances a checkbook, like how to plan for the next few months, like all of that stuff has been thrown out the window, I believe, with Trump 2.0. And I decided that instead of wallowing for the next 4 years, which I did the first time around when Trump won. I mean, I went on the women's marches. Remember that? Like, remember we were like knitting hats and all
Yeah, I
that
had a
stuff.
pink pussy hat.
Yep. And I was like, what am I going to do? Start knitting pussy hats again? Like, I literally was like, what can I do to help fix it? Because my number one thing that I hate the most about people are complainers, people that complain without figuring out a way or wanting a way to fix it, right? They're just like perpetual complainers. And I was like, I'm not going to be that person this time around. I'm going to figure out. And I told my husband, who's like really honestly must love me so much because he's like on this journey with me. But I was like, honey, we don't have to feel so bad. Like, we just have to win the midterms. We're only 3 seats away. And I think I just have to go flip a seat. Like, seems easy enough. And again, if you've never run for anything, like what's the first thing you do? I'm a millennial, so like obviously I'm gonna Google. I people are like, you didn't ask Chat GPT. Like, I was like, I'm not even that evolved yet. Um and I realized that this seat in Orange County is in my own backyard. It's the only like target red seat that is around Los Angeles, Orange County, Riverside, and San Diego. Like, all of the other seats have become blue. And there's a Korean American woman in my own community that was 20 years older than me. So like, her name, ironically enough, is named Young Kim. And I call myself the younger Kim. And so I've been running and literally Really, it's the campaign resonates. Um, I am the third highest raiser in the country as far as Democratic challengers go. I'm the highest raiser for a congressional campaign for first time runners. And so it's literally like the power of Google and having an unhinged mom wanting to make a change can, you too can run for Congress. It's like,
We're going to make a video out of this. This is how you run for Congress. Now listen, I want you to take a step back because it's even crazier than what Esther's describing. And I want her to walk through this. Esther started raising money and running for Congress in one seat. And then Gavin Newsom and folks decided that they would, and I'm glad they did, redraw a bunch of seats to create more Democratic opportunities because of all the crazy shit they were doing in my home state of Texas with redistricting. So then Esther got plunged into a whole different seat. Tell folks about the old seat and kind of walk us through this Prop 50 journey you've been on.
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't know. I'm assuming this crowd here.
We are a bunch of nerds.
They're a bunch of nerds. Okay, good. I'm talking to the right crowd. So, when I first started the run, this was a district, CA 40 is what we're talking about. So I have been running in CA 40 since day one, where I was like, Young Kim is in it. It's the inland parts of Orange County. You look at the numbers, Biden carried it by 2 points in 2020. Trump carried it only by 2 points in this last cycle. And then you look at the congressional numbers, and I was like, how did this woman, Young Kim, win by 10 points against a challenger? And I looked at how much money Young Kim raised because she is literally like, she gets an F with End Citizens United. Like, she's one of the dirtiest politicians out there, takes money everywhere. She raised $8 million and the challenger raised like $700,000 or $800,000, right? It was that much of a difference. And what she did is use that money to basically message out, because Orange County is the LA media market. It's one of the most expensive media markets in the country. So like, this lady has never held a town hall in like 6 years that she's been in office, but she doesn't need to, right? Because like, if she can get all the money she needs to raise, like literally the numbers are the people you shake on the ground, their hands, like that accounts for less than 4% of the vote. Like the rest of the 96%, it has to be in the paid media market. And so this woman figured out, she's like, I just have to raise a shit ton of money, message out my like faux gaslighting message that I'm a centrist, and go vote like a maniac in DC because I'm bought off by every like special interest group. So I was like, okay, if I can raise the money and give her a run for the money, then we have a chance. If I can just get out there, like to the public, the way that she votes, right? Like she votes in ways that you would be very surprised that a Southern California congresswoman votes. So like she's voted against um, protections for same-sex marriage federally. She's voted against my access to contraception. She's voted against abortions, even in the case of rape and incest. Like she gets an A with the NRA. She's voted against bipartisan bills curbing gun violence at schools, like all that stuff. Like she's crazy. And so I was like, okay, let me just try doing this. And so I started fundraising last year, and I quickly became one of the top Republican targets by the NRCC. They wrote 28 articles attacking me. Okay. Like nonstop. And Jasmine Crockett endorsed me pretty early on. And they call me like Jasmine's next appointed. And they've like gone berserk. And they're like, Esther Kim Barrett is the next obvious shoo-in to go take her radical ideas about protecting the environment and the right to abortion. And I'm just like, yeah, like unhinged radical ideas, like that's me. And so that was happening. And then Prop 50, again, I keep on thinking what we're living through right now is literally just the symptoms of democracy having seizures. Like Prop 50 happened, and in that time I was like, okay, do I continue running? Like this is going to change my race. And I had Congress people that were supporting me on the back end being like, your seat is going to become a Republican sinkhole. Like, because a lot of the seats around you were just won in the last election by like a couple of thousand, like Dave Min and Derek Tran. Those are seats that were flipped, like all touching this district, and they were won by such slim margins. What they ended up doing is making those seats safer, and in the process, making my seat more red. And because they were doing that, they were like cutting out all the blue parts. They merged my seat with the neighboring Republican seat, which is Ken Calvert's seat. Okay. And they mashed us together. And so, yes, it went from like an R+1 flip district to like an R+7 or 8. But interestingly, we thought Ken Calvert and Young Kim were going to like coordinate with each other and maybe one sit out, maybe one wait, whatever. We did not think that they would be running against each other because they got forced into it and none of them wanted to back down. Both of them were like, wait, this is still half my district. And so I decided, okay, I'm gonna continue running. I continue to be the front runner on the Democratic side. Um, I'm not just giving numbers about my fundraising anymore, but I'm talking about like my reach. I'm also the youngest person in the race, so I'm a millennial. I um, work with people that are in different generations, so I know how to message them. I know how to use social media. I know how to package ideas and sell them. I mean, literally, I'm an art dealer. I sell ice to Eskimos. So um, I was like, I'm going to stay in if there is still a historic chance for us to run both of these MAGA incumbents out. This might be that rare opportunity where they're both being forced to run against each other. They don't have natural incumbency in half the district, either of them, because they're like half of it is brand new to both of them. And they could X each other out. The reason why I love talking to Chuck is that also we inherited a district that is now 41% independent. And I want you to talk about what's happening with the independents these days, because that's really important. And that's where our opening is.
Leave it to Esther Kim to start getting an interview to me. So what she's talking about, and I'll take the bait because I love talking about this race, is I want y'all to think about a few things at home. It's more than just all the independents, and that is a crux of the backbone of how she wins. But remember, y'all, those of you who aren't from California, this is a top 2 scenario in the primary. She just told you there are 2 Republican incumbents running. There's also a bunch of minor Democratic other candidates, well-meaning folks that are also running. Somebody, 2 people have to get in the top 2, and you have 2 Republican incumbents spending money against each other. You can start seeing how the math would work. That's A. B, she said this is an R+7 or 8 district. The average performance so far this year in Virginia, New Jersey, Miami mayor's race, and every special election around the country has been at least D+15 bump. At least. Some of them went as high as 23, some of them went even higher. So you could see with even half of the bump that we've seen so far, Esther Kim Varet wins this race. But then the next layer is who's in this race. Now, I have some history here. There used to be a Democrat named Gil Cisneros that I helped with an IE there back in the day when I first ran against the other older Kim, I will say. But these independent voters are not dyed in the wool Republicans. They are not Donald Trump Republicans.
Yeah.
And they're not left wing Bernie Sanders Democrats. They are common sense, middle of the road folks who really don't care about politics, but they are really looking for somebody. Let's think about this. Maybe somebody that's not a politician. Maybe somebody who's just sick and tired of the shit they saw around them and decided they wanted to run for office. Somebody, as I would say about my good friend Esther, tells it like it is. This is why her profile meets a district that some folks would think, oh, that's too Republican. Not in California, not with so many independents, not with a top 2 system, and not in a year where you're going to see an overdramatic reach for Democrats because of
Right.
how pissed people are about ICE, about the economy, the price of beef, and one thing after another when it comes to California. This is the recipe. Now, I want to stop there and you tell folks about the connection that you've been hearing on the ground, because unlike a lot of folks, you've been running for a minute. You've been talking to lots of people, and my reach with this Substack is nationally. I'd love for you to take a minute to tell our listeners what you've been hearing on the ground as you're talking to voters? And a lot of these independents, what are they saying?
Well, that's interesting. Number one is their skepticism of career politicians or politicians in general. There is a when I say, hey guys, I think so much of this can be fixed if we had congressional term limits, and they're like, yeah, like there is a general feeling that um, politicians have been corrupt. Nobody's looking after them. They ping ponged around. They've tried out different sides of the aisle, and feel like no one's listening to them. I, I'm gonna say one thing before we move too much ahead about my profile. So I'm Korean American in Southern California. Southern California has the largest Korean population outside of Korea. Now, there aren't that many Koreans in this new inland district, but what I am saying is that for the last 10, 15 years, if you look in Southern California politics, all of the Asian American women are Republican. Electeds, not just voters, but I'm just saying elected. So like Young Kim, Republican, Michelle Steele, y'all remember her? Um, these ladies and the Republican Party here has invested tens of millions of dollars making people like me less scary to white folk. It's interesting. Like psychologically, I can go in both directions. I can be a person of color, right? For the Democrats, someone that represents, I'm the daughter of immigrants. My family fled North Korea. I, I'm very concerned about what's happening with ICE, all of that stuff. But then on the other side, I'm kind of oddly white passing in this district. I'm very Republican passing. And when I talk to independents on the ground here and I say, hey, I'm running for office, I would say like half the time they assume I'm Republican running for office. It's fascinating. And I feel like this hasn't been talked about in this race yet as much as it should. I am kind of like a Trojan horse in that sense, like going into these districts. And I would also like to remind everybody the last two seats that were flipped in Orange County in 2024 in the last cycle were done by Asian Americans, Dave Min and Derek Tran. And those are the guys who are running my team right now. And so it's a very interesting dynamic where right now the model minority kind of works to message with independence.
What are the messages and what are the issues in this particular community that you
Yeah.
hear the most about?
Yes. Oh, yeah. That was your original question, which I didn't answer. I break it down to the three C's that keeps on coming up over and over again: corruption, cost of living, and competence. Okay. So those three things, I feel like in any order, come up. And for me, as somebody that's talking to them in any order, if I'm like, I am running because things are too expensive. I'm running because I felt like I was able to work hard and achieve the American dream. And I have employees where I'm trying to impart those lessons on them and they don't believe me. And I'm starting to not believe myself that the American dream is possible. And um, I think that corruption, because we all see it, we all hear it. Corruption is so out in the open in politics now. The level, I think, if you're any kind of normal, patriotic American, even if you voted for Trump, I'm sure there is a level of, man, that guy's getting rich. And what's happening to me? That's going on in their heads. And whenever I go back and forth with somebody when they're like, oh my gosh, you're a Democrat. Like, what are you, a pedophile lover? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're getting fed weird information. I'm like, I'm a Democrat. You think I love pedophiles because I'm a Democrat? Like, what are you listening to? But I'm like, I don't care about whatever you might think about me. I'm just fighting because when you get that bill with your new insurance premiums, I want you to remember this conversation. I'm fighting because there is one side right now that is fighting to keep those costs down for you, and the other side is not. And this is the side that I'm on. And like, you have to, like, for me, like talking to independents, you just have to bring it back to those three core things and just be like, listen, you and I agree on a lot more than we thought we would. You're a part of the 80%. You're a part of Team Normal, which I trademarked. I'm like, we are on Team Normal. Like, let's get back to a sense of normalcy. Let's get rid of the misconceptions we have about each other. I'm not going to call you a racist. You don't have to call me a pedophile. Whatever it is, like, let's get back to try to fix the things that actually really matter to us as neighbors and us as parents and caretakers of the elderly, like of our parents' generation, and that
I
works.
I think that's, when you talk, and I've been around politicians for now going on 36 years, is the authenticity here it just shines through so much because most politicians are scared to not just be on certain talking points, and you've been very open about what your profile is and the way that you could persuade a voter, and most politicians don't go down that route because you're not a politician. Because you're not a politician, that's why I'm gonna ask this next question.
Yeah.
You've learned a lot. You're a smart woman. You've run a business. You have an amazing husband. You've got great kids. You've had to figure out how to sell people art that they didn't want. That's real. What's not real is being a candidate and being a politician. That is the most unreal thing in the world. So I want to know, this is going to be a
Mhm.
question out of left field. What's been the biggest surprise of having to run for office? What's the thing? Is it how much a TV commercial cost? Is it how much staff costs? Is it how lazy everybody is? I mean, don't say anything to get you in trouble, but I do need to know what's like shocked you the most. Let me open up and be vulnerable for you. The thing that shocked me when I got in this business as a kid who grew up with not much like you, who's built something, is how lazy people were in my business. Like, they would just reproduce the same mail piece. They would just reproduce the same ad, and they would kinda live off the last campaign's reputation and kinda get work handed to them. It was hard to break in because nobody was really working hard. Because of the way I thought about working hard, because I grew up on a farm. I had a 15-year-old mama. I worked several jobs. I helped support the family. Like, it was always I got up in the morning, there was shit you had to go do. So
Yeah.
that was one of the shocking things, that people weren't as smart as I thought they would be in this business, and you could outwork them. That's my vulnerability in my profession. Tell me
That's
about being a
interesting.
candidate.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. And I agree with you on the hard work component. I mean, I come from like, when you own your own business, I was talking to my campaign manager earlier today, and he was like, "What time do you wake up?" And I was like, "At 6." And he's like, "So what time do you stop work every day?" I was like, 8 or 10, like, depending on what time I put my kids to bed and then get back to it. And I'm like, I've been working 15-hour days like my entire life. Like, it's for me, it isn't odd. But I'm endlessly curious and ambitious and always wanting to push the boundaries and edges of the system that's given to me. That's, I think, what an entrepreneur is. And I came to politics with that spirit. And for me, one of the most shocking parts of it was the natural conservatism that is built into these systems of putting candidates out there. The fear-based conservatism. Oh, stick to your talking points. Don't give too many policy answers. You don't want to get nipped in the bud later. Like,
Let me interrupt you. Is it the
yeah.
fear of messing up or the fear of getting outside the box is what you're talking when you say a conservatism? Like, be conservative in the
Yeah.
way you're talking?
Yes, yes. Not like politically conservative, but in
Right.
but
We
conservative in your actions and in
risk
your risk
averse.
taking, risk aversion. Yes. And that risk aversion, I would think, in a field that represents the majority of artists and creatives in America are Democrats, right? Like, that to me, because I came from a creative field, I was like, okay, we're going to go into Democratic politics and and be creative, and it's like, and you're like, whoa, like, these people are not creative, like, these people are. very much about a certain formula, and like the number of times, and this is actually not my present team, but the first team that I spoke to when I first started doing this, they were like, okay, this is what we did for Kamala. I was like, you know that Kamala just lost, right? Like, I'm like, I'm like, what's happening here? Like, why aren't we learning our lessons? Like they're just defaulting back because I think it is a little bit of that. Well, this has worked a lot of times in the past, and I wouldn't say it's a combination of laziness, but it's also maybe the apprentice system that where like I realize the younger ones are still trying to like attach themselves to the more seasoned people to get the next gig and blah blah blah. And they feel like they have to propagate maybe a certain way of doing things from one generation to the other in order to secure their own position on the ladder up. And I mean, I've been thinking about what you said, a little bit of like where that comes from, where that desire to only do just enough comes from, right? Like because if you maybe they've seen in the way that democratic politics is set up that like going the extra mile doesn't pay off. What pays off is doing exactly what's expected of you.
No, I
And
agree with
so
that. I think that that's exactly right. You have
So
been
yeah, I mean, I think it's problematic, and I've been this campaign certainly has pushed back on that repeatedly, um, to the point where uh, we've had a lot of our national, like the the big the big people that sit in on your calls, kind of hesitate, try to pull you aside, um, but I think we're ready for a politician that does things differently. I mean, again, like I'm not I don't I've never built any business or I come from a culture industry where I'm extremely sensitive to the cultural and social mood. I'm not going to do anything that won't resonate or hit. And I recognize that my personality and the way I like doing things and the opportunity that I see here to do a different kind of campaign is something that feels right in this era. And so it's my responsibility to keep on pushing that on people that might be a little bit more restrained and to be like, see, it wasn't that bad. See, like these are some of the results that we got over the other candidates that like they can't get this. And it's happening. I think we're really starting to reshape some parts of the industry. I hope. And yeah.
for sure, and I think that it's a lesson to all of the campaign nerds who love this Substack to pull the curtain back a little bit. They've heard me talk about the lack of diversity, and I don't mean color of your skin, but the lack of diversity in consultants. You have the same group of people who've been running the same races for a long time, and their first reaction is to your I'll use your words, to be conservative. That means very risk averse. They all have reasons why you shouldn't do something while none of them have a new idea or are worried about creating a moment by doing something that may be a little edgy that to me and you and normal folks is not even edgy, but to a politician seems super edgy. It reminds me when I was running Ruben Gallego's Senate race last cycle, and we want to do this boxing viewing match. A lot of Latino men
Yeah.
in Arizona. We were going to do this pay-per-view match with Canelo and this viewing party, and it took me a half hour to make New York and DC consultants realize that Ruben Gallego wasn't actually fighting anybody. That we were just going to be what? That's how removed from the culture of understanding regular folks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one thing for sure in the electorate right now is that folks are hungry for something that looks and feels and sounds authentic and
Yeah.
different. And I think that's your real niche is because you come from a real life experience that people can see that. And even for all the things that made Donald Trump crazy and a lunatic, people thought he was authentic. He may be
Yeah.
authentically crazy and so different from what they were used to, they would give him a shot. Now, a lot of them feel like they were sold a bill of goods and they regret that.
Right.
Let me ask you this
Well,
question.
yeah.
Let me ask you this question. You have been a prolific fundraiser. You have busted your ass on call time. You've got to reap what your work is. So many candidates right now, we deal with a lot of them. Their Achilles heel is they don't know how to maximize their network to get in that seed money because money begins money. We all know that. What advice would you have for candidates when they're thinking about doing what you just did? You Googled how to run for office, you assemble a team. Part of the team may make sense over time. You change out your team. You're learning. Let me just say, you're flying and building this airplane at the same time, but you're succeeding. You're raising money. You're
Yeah.
successful. You're all over social media. What advice do you have for other people that are wanting to do what you just did?
Um, okay, I'm gonna give away some secrets here. Okay, and only because it's the Rocha revolution.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Because this is okay. You have to remember my background. I'm an art dealer, so I have a Rolodex of multimillionaires and billionaires all across the country. I have a very different start than a lot of people, um, but I have that Rolodex because for the past 15 years, in order for my businesses to survive, I had to think about. I had to think like rich people. Like I had to think. Like I had to try to see where they're going to be, what the timing is, how much to push, how little to push, what kind of pitch works and lands, right? And interestingly enough, a lot of the big Democratic national donors just happen to be my donors, my collectors. Um, but more recently, okay, and so that's where a lot of my love money came from, are people that I've been doing business with for a really long time, and I'm like, "Hey, you trust me. You've given me actually more than $7,000. Like, $7,000 for democracy is nothing compared to, like, the $70,000 or, like, $170,000 or $700,000 that you've worked with me on to invest your money." And so that works. Go to people, first and foremost, that, um have a sense of who you are already and your values. Like people that you're like, okay, if I say something, they listen. Like try to think of who those people are and go to them first. Secondly, I then went through my interests, like, so what have I been supporting, or what do I represent, right? Like, I'm a big person about the environment. Like I've been going to DC lobbying Congress people for the last few years, like on my own dime to try to get them to like instill climate friendly policies, all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, so how am I going to work with my fundraiser knowing that I have this background? So what I started doing is going through the nonprofit organizations, big and small, local and national, and looking at their board and start calling through that board. Doesn't matter whether or not they've given in the past to political campaigns, but if you have a good fundraiser, they can find those numbers and you call them and you're like, "Ha, I am so and so. I like this is one of my top issues and why I'm running. I want to save our country from blah. And I know you're interested in this because you're already invested in it because I see you're on the board of this." Right? Like work backwards, use lists that are already out there that like and align it with your values and what you're running for. And so if you're running for school board, right? Like look for nonprofits um that are about providing more arts education in schools, like that are about like programs to tutor kids that are falling behind and lower income areas. You will be able to find all sorts of things. You remember people that have expendable income to be on philanthropic boards will more likely be able to give to you than those that are not. So that's my big.
The big thing that you just said that really strikes me, and this is y'all don't know this because y'all don't do this every day like me, is that what she just described seems like common sense, but you should know that it's never really done like that. That's why she said she was giving something away. Most folks go sit in a room, a fundraiser gives her a list of people who've given in this race before, or other folks who have given to other Korean women, or somebody who's given to this, and she calls a lot of people and wastes a lot of time calling people who may or may not give. What she just said is way outside of the box of just cold calling people because they're on the board of the Sierra Club or Planned Parenthood, that she could start a conversation, which is really, really smart. But for you first time candidates, it says live where you're comfortable. Your thing may not be that thing. It could be some other thing. It
Yeah.
made me think about my wife running for city council in DC. It'll make you laugh, Esther, but that we have public financing here. And if you pledge to do the public financing, if you're running for city council, you can't accept more than $50 from anybody.
Wow.
But the city will write you a check for $250 if you can get $50 from people in the city.
Uh-huh.
And so I went out because my wife does not have a network. She's a millennial like you. And she just has never had the professional experience. So I knew I had to go to my network. It was the first time I'd ever tested my Rolodex outside of giving to some of my congressional candidates.
Right.
And the way I got 1,500 of my friends to donate was I went to everybody in my LinkedIn, everybody on my Facebook, everybody on my Twitter that's already my friend, and just DM'd and copied and pasted
Yeah.
one by one saying, hey, my wife's running for city council. Can you give her $50? It's the max. And everybody could give $50. But it became time consuming because it's just $50. Your network is your net worth.
Yes.
Esther figured out how to use people that had lots of money who cared about certain things to make her one. I used it in a smaller way with much more people. I'm way older than Esther, over a lifetime of friendships on Facebook. I was at Facebook when I got friends, I've been there for 20 years, and
Yeah.
I've never asked them for anything. And another little bit of advice is I had never asked anybody for anything, and the first thing I got back from almost everything is, "Chuck, absolutely, you've helped me do this, or you've helped me do this, and you've never asking me for $50 ain't shit. Hell yeah, I'll get two of my buddies, like, whatever." Anyway, enough about Chuck Rocha
Yeah.
and
No,
Esther's
I mean, but that's a
fundraising.
testament to your character, right? Like, um, nobody's seen you as someone that is, I mean, I'm sure like your relationships to them have always seemed generous. So they were
Right.
willing to be generous back with you. And I think this is also why career politicians don't really work, because they've been building, they've spent their last 20 years building up to try to do this run. And people feel it. People feel that they've been indexed like all of this time. And the authenticity kind of runs out pretty fast, and then your heart gets scabbed with skepticism, and you close yourself off to that person. And but I keep on thinking, why? Okay, like, just aside from, like, we just need younger voices. And I mean, I'm not even that young, to be honest. I'm like a grandma millennial. Like, I have kids that are 8 and 11. I'm not really that young. And but the reason why we need kind of more voices that, like, see all these different angles instead of just from the top when you're 70 something down, is that I really do feel like we are losing the youth right now. Democrats are losing the youth. And even in this new CA40 district, which now includes not just Orange County but Riverside, I was talking to a delegate the other day, and he was like, "Oh yeah, a Turning Point office just opened up in our district." And I've been trying to figure out how to get more of the local high schools, like, to um, host Democratic club. Just a counter um, balance to that. And I really think that we have our own politicians to blame for the lack of engagement for the younger generation. Like, this younger generation is not going to relate or be inspired by somebody that's been sitting in Congress since they were born, and, like, has never messaged to them. It's just not going to happen. And, like, that's on us. That's on us to change that culture. That's on us to strategically uplift candidates that can bring in the next generation with them. And I just wish that our party would be more more thoughtful about that right now.
Because they're risk averse, to your point earlier.
Yeah.
For those of you listening who want to give to a geriatric millennial, Esther, can you give us your website?
Yes, it's estherforcongress.org. It's pretty easy.
And on all the socials, it's the same handle, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All right, I got 2 personal questions, and then we're going to let you get out of here and give the website one more time. These are the easy ones. Don't worry. They're not that personal. This one is, you have seen lots of cultures, your mother and your family escaping from North Korea, then living in Southern California, traveling the globe, giving and selling art and fancy pantsy stuff with folks. I need to know, with all of that culture, what's your go-to meal? What's the thing that makes your heart happy and excited about the meal, and what is the meal?
Okay. So just as a primer, I was born and raised in Texas, right? So
I was going to keep that as a secret, but yeah, you go, because she is my
because my
sister.
answer is so specific, you're gonna be like, this doesn't make
Is it
any sense.
Whataburger? No.
No. It's the chicken fried steak from Grandy's. Okay. Do you remember Grandy's?
Oh, yeah.
With mashed potatoes, white gravy, and canned green beans. Like, that is literally the last meal. If I had to pick a last meal, that would be it. There's something about it because I grew up eating that so much. I don't know why my parents.
We had a lot of chicken fried steak growing up in Texas.
Yeah, and it's literally one of those things. Like, I just it brings back everything. It's everything for me.
The last one is, when you go to a baseball game, and before somebody walks up to the plate, they have what we call walk-up music.
Yeah.
It's also the music that some people play when they go to the gym. It's that music that the baseball players play because it gets them amped up as they're walking up to the plate. And so my question is, what is your amp up song, or what would be your walk-up song if you were going up to bat, or you could also think of it as when you're in the gym? Geriatric millennial.
Okay. No, I mean, this is all over the place because I listen to so much K-pop right now because of my daughter who's 8. And like, so for me, like that walk-up music would be something that I would share with like the things that we dance to. And I think it would probably be like Akate right now. Yeah.
Sidebar, have you talked to Daisy about your K-pop obsession?
I'm not that obsessed with K-pop. Is Daisy obsessed? Okay.
Oh, yes. Yes, you should talk. Daisy is somebody who works with me, who also works with Esther, so y'all should have a conversation because her and her sister do it upright. Look, before we get out of here, you got to give the website again. So, folks, I need everybody out there. Look, I don't go out and pimp for much of these races. Like, I'm a professional. I got to win races. I got to stack them up and knock them down. But Esther, I fell in love with, and the first time she called me and we had a conversation, I need all of you to donate and give, and then share her website with 5 of your friends. Give them the website again.
Thank you. Esther for Congress. So it's ESTHER, like the Bible, Esther, for Congress. Yeah, .org. And
also, like the Latino spelling for all of you at home.
Yeah. Or the Korean American one.
Both. You can have it both. Why can't it be both?
Or the Jewish one. I think that's the original.
Oh, that's also right. Donate. Do it today. You're not going to regret it. When she's in Congress, you're going to remember this conversation. Esther, give your husband and everybody a big hug for me and the kids, and I'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.